It's been a fairly long day, and the mailman arrived late to finally bring the old the castle, and of course there's some desert lizards in there as well. All I have to say so far for this tiny little bit of the video is that somewhere in this workshop there's a little plastic bag, and it has all the parts that go to this receiver box, the little plug, the gasket, all that stuff. So I ended up deciding I wanted more receiver box than the one I had bought. I bought one and it was a tiny little thing, and it was going to go right there. And then I changed my mind on that, and I was going to put it right there. And then I slid the battery in next to the servo, and when I saw that it fit, I was like, well, we're just going to put a strap around it and put the battery right there. Put this right here. That way, there's only one servo on an extension. Old Dig is the only one that doesn't have a wire long enough. So if I can get by with one extension, that's great. The fan will be coming off. I don't run a fan on the other copperhead. It's never needed when the thing sits at like ambient temperature. So it's all wired together. As you might be able to see, I definitely cleaned up the bracket for the diff lock servos. I have them set on the radio so that's both locked in and wide out. See, I think my brain can remember that. So this is both unlocked. All the servos work. And it's got that good old copperhead with the weird noises that copperheads make. So in reverse, I mean, it's definitely, if you want low speed, I don't think you can do much lower than that. It sounds every bit as weird as I would expect it to. But it is quite smooth. I do like the word smooth. Dig engages perfectly. The diffs work. I can... This is the poor man's test for whether or not your diffs are unlocking. Now I'll lock the front. Oh. Yeah. That still needs a little bit of fine tuning. Usually on the end points, which are very finicky to set. Let's try the rear. And the rear was the one giving me more problems, and now it locks better than the front. It could be any number of things. I might have not even just gotten the screw down tight enough. So it looks like it's about blue sky high speed wide open. So I think I'm fine with that. I did manage to shove a 20-tooth pinion in there, so it's 2090. I do like nice round even numbers. That is a lot of spur speed for not a lot of wheel speed. So 2090 is 4.5. It's 21 revolutions of the spur to 1 revolution of the tire. So I don't know, what is that? 95 to 1? That's a bit... that's a lot of reduction. But, once again, it's never been anywhere near a rock, so I have no way of knowing if that's too low. Is that too high? Amazingly, everything fits under the body quite nicely. All shoehorned in there. I think it looks fantastic. It's sitting as low as I can get it to sit. That's about the functional, because with the dual springs on the inside, that's as low as a desert lizard will sit. So that is the ground clearance. Has that nice flat Vanquish belly on there. It doesn't look like anything is going to rub excessively, which pleases me to no end. The weight bias should be quite a bit towards the front. Now deciding to put the battery up there. I think I'm just going to cut a slot in that filler plate and just put a strap around it. I don't know if I'm even going to put any posts or anything in front of it for more mechanical retention. The front bumper still needs to be mounted the rest of the way. I've got the body mounts drilled. That's all done. Here's a little bit better look at the shift servo mounting. I must say I'm pretty pleased with that. I went at it a little too hard. I made these pieces 3/4 inch high, just like these. And to use the Traxxas savers, the little flimsy plastic ones that had come when I bought the axles, the takeoff axles, these needed to be like, I think about between 4 and 5 millimeters shorter. Otherwise, see, I had kinked one of those wires, and it seems fine now, but laziness comes through again, and I could either have gone through all the work to cut these down, or I could spend $18 and just buy a pair of longer little servo saver arms. At this point, I'm genuinely just debating going to rigid arms and ditching the savers altogether. I mean, that's how I have most everything else set up. I also put a spacer on the dig because it turns out it was not perfectly parallel. It needed that about, I think that's a 3 millimeter spacer. A 2 millimeter spacer would probably be better, but I'm not going to futz with it over 1 millimeter. The dig seems much smoother with that installed, so we'll just leave it at that. Everything else is pretty much ready to go. I need there's a massive extension wedged in there for this guy. I need like that long. So I'll either order one or make one. I will get this front bumper mounted and affixed. It's still not attached to its bracketry. I'm going to mess around in Tinkercad again to see if I can't get something. I just want like a little bar bumper the width of the back of the body. And then all that's really left to do is paint this. And it's up to 55 degrees inside the building right now, which is still a little low. Tomorrow is supposed to be nicer, so I'm going to get on that. And then I realize now, saying that, when anyone watches this, it'll look like this, and then there'll be a transition, and then the body will be painted. So, I don't know. Ignore all that little part right before. But it's past a roller now. It's a mover. It's the weirdest sounding motor, like outside of an outrunner. Look, that diff's open. So it won't be the quietest rig in the fleet, but it's not going to be the junior coffee grinder that is a TRX4 Defender either. It's somewhere in between. Once again, as seems to happen to me every time, I have more steering that way than that way. And yeah, I have sub-trim dialed in to get the horn perfectly straight, because no matter what I tried, it would not sit straight. And that's the side with, oddly, with more steering, and this is the side with less. It's really close to full throw, but it won't quite get there. I don't know what that is yet. and I don't know if it even needs to be addressed because, as I said, it needs rocks to find out. I don't like taking rigs out doors without bodies on them, and I've had a terrible track record with driving unpainted bodies, so I'm not going to do that. So as soon as possible, this will be painted. I will get these screwed down. I'm airbrushing it, so I shouldn't have to wait for a ton of cure time. I've got all the stuff right over there. The airbrush, everything is all right there, ready to go. And it's, I mean, there's 3 bottles, but it's a single color, and then I'll put the backer on it. And with any luck, as I mentioned before, to anyone watching this, it will just all appear to just flow together. But to me, waiting is killing me, but it's far too late in the day. The sun is almost down. It's far too late to start paint. I tinkered on this all through the morning, redid the panhard bar again. It seems better. It's not perfect. I think the disparity in link length is a problem. You can see that steer link is a good bit longer, and there's nothing I can do about that because these are not the axles for this chassis. So we make do. I will be scaling it as soon as I get the battery locked down and figure out something for the rear bumper, or just put on a piece of weight to kind of fill in for a rear bumper to get an idea of what kind of bias I've got. I think it's going to be pretty good. There's no real weight rearward of there, so almost all the weight is forward of the midline. It should be good. Now it's really killing me, and I think I'm mentioning the waiting so that other people will know that I had to wait, which just makes it that much worse. So hopefully the next clip will be my hand going down and putting the body into place. I don't know. There might be, I might throw the camera on for a little airbrush. I'm just going to airbrush it right here on the bench. I don't need no vent hood. It's water-based. And that'll be that. There was a time when I was really into painting stuff. I still somewhere in a box have got a handful of Posh and Badger airbrushes, and like I got pretty crazy into painting bodies. This is a sedan body I had painted back when I did sedans in the early 2000s, I would say. And now the notion of painting something like this seems insane to me. So I haven't put an airbrush to a body in over a decade, I would say. It's been exclusively the rattle can. It was Pactra, and then, your usual Tamiya. And then I moved on to the wonderful discovery of Duplicolor vinyl and fabric paint, which works exactly like polycarbonate paint because it is still my belief that it is polycarbonate paint. Daphne the Sport was painted with this exact can of vinyl and fabric paint. Here's how she still looks. This was basically 3 coats of just this. Starting to get a couple little chips up in here on the edges. I did no prep to this body. I didn't wash it with soap. I didn't do anything. I wiped the inside of it out. I put the masks on it, and I painted it. And she's starting to get some abuse on here, and the paint still looks fine. I have bodies much older that have dealt with much more punishment and still look brand new. So I do still swear by Duplicolor vinyl and fabric. The problem is, as I've mentioned many other places, it comes in about 8 colors. So I want this body color change green, and that's not really an option with vinyl and fabric. So I will be using the aforementioned Mission Models RC, warming up in a bowl of hot water here because it's 53 degrees inside here, which is a little lower than what is generally recommended. I will be using, for the first time on Lexan, I used this to paint the wheels on the banana, and it worked phenomenally. My wife, for my birthday, bought me this little crazy Works. They all run off little 20-volt batteries. No messing with vapor traps or filters or anything. You turn the thing on, the compressor's in there. It's pretty amazing. It worked great on the wheels. I'm hoping it works equally well on the body. Now, because I've never used this material before, I am going extra. It was done with soap. Then it kind of shows up a little. I do the whole inside. I prefer 4/0 steel wool. I get a brand new briquette pad and do the whole inside. Wipe it down. This is 90% isopropyl. Wipe it down with that. Let it air dry. And I will be doing the color change first. Fingers crossed for that. And then backing it with that. I do have the thinner, which I thought I forgot to buy. And I have the poly additive, which is supposed to make it more flexible and more durable. This makes it dry faster. This makes it more flexible. So I'm going to try the whole deal. And I think why I haven't before is, as anybody who owns a crawler knows, the bodies are ludicrously expensive. So this guy, at I think he was $34. Yeah, I'll take an airbrush to that. Because it'll come out well enough no matter what. I could just hit it with a can of, to me, I've got cobalt green and park green, but I really want to try this, and I have high hopes. The airbrushing on the Banana's wheels came out great. They're holding up excellent. For that, I used Revell Aquacolor. I'd never used acrylic model paint before, but it worked great. So I'll get this camera positioned somewhere a little better, and we'll see how this goes. And we did see how it went. Well, I saw how it went, and it went terribly. I had to detach the audio from this because the sound of the little compressor unit, while sped up, sounds insane. And I don't think anyone should be subjected to it. The airbrush worked as well as could be expected. I realized that you couldn't see anything coming out, and it didn't really matter that you couldn't see anything coming out, because this was as far as the build process has gone so far, this I would classify as the first debacle of the entire process. But I'm going to hand it back to the other guy. He's definitely got more to say about it. I've no idea what I'm doing wrong, but this stuff has zero adhesion. Like, no paint that I've ever encountered in my life can you just wipe off. So I'm now terrified. And I know I said it's a $34 body, but I mean, I know it's a little cold in here, but I'm returning this body to original condition. The paint that I sprayed on very first on the roof is the only spot where I have to use actually even a little bit of thinner to remove it, but it wipes right off. And as I mentioned before, this body was fully prepped, so there should be as much bite to this as you can possibly get. I think I've gotten 95% of the air quotes paint removed. I don't know what to make of this. I haven't airbrushed in a long time, so I'm sure that's part of it. But at the same time, I've painted a lot of bodies. Not a brag, but I just have. Like, in the hundreds. And I've never had paint go this badly, regardless of who makes the paint or what temperature I was applying it in. I've painted in the cold before, using a hairdryer to heat up the body. And this is going really badly. I'm glad I could bring the internet along for this. As soon as I saw how bad that was balling up on the body, I was like, let's wipe it down, because I don't think that would have been salvageable no matter how many coats went on. So, do I try it again? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I can get this any thinner. That's water thin. And when I tried to spray it the first time, I got it to the same consistency of the Revell. And the Revell shot perfectly. So I have no idea now. There's probably some little flecks of color change on there that I've missed wiping off. I see some right there. But I'm all for experimentation, but I would also prefer to be driving that rig right now rather than fighting this body. So obviously the temptation is to take it outside and just paint it cobalt green, because I know it will work. This is disappointing, to say the least. I don't know. I'm gonna take a break for a minute. The only way that could have gone any worse would be if the body had caught fire. I can't put the blame on the little works. It tried as hard as it could. It just, no matter what, this stuff, it's either too thick to spray or too thin to stick. I could not get it to properly work out of this. There's maybe that much left in that bottle, both from the failures and what I finally resorted to. I was like, you know what? We'll go back to the $34 idea. I'm committed. So I just dumped the whole pot in this, which is what I use to paint, cars. And just blasted the whole thing. And it went on as thick as soup, and it was dripping everywhere. And anywhere a drip hit was this beautiful iridescent, looked like a June bug. It looked like what I wanted the body to look like. But on the Lexan, no. It says right on the bottle, 4 can be used on polycarbonate. I do not recommend that. I'm not an expert. I've never used this material before, but I wouldn't. I think I used a third of the bottle of thinner to try to get one coat on a tiny body. So after I would hose it down with this, I would spray off all the excess with this, because it was never going to dry, ever. So it's sitting out in the sun right now. I realize time doesn't exist in YouTube videos. Everything just gets condensed together. I'm just going to back it with Tamiya. The body is probably inevitably going to end up having to be painted on the outside. Just a solid color, probably. So I'm not going to put any of the decals on it in case I need those later. Everything was going great in the scratch build, and now we've gotten to the point where everything's gone to hell. So I'm going to drive it today. That's it. this video will have driving in it. In the end, I think it was a bit of much ado about nothing, because while I don't think it looks amazing, I think the most cutting compliment I could give it would be to say, it looks okay. It's shiny, and it's got kind of a strange, almost marbly look to it, but the paint appears that it will at least be durable. I took it out here, like I could still smell strongly the layers of paint on it, so it's still really soft, and I probably put some nicks in the paint, but I don't really care. Let's just get on to the meat of the matter, which is, how does it drive? And it drives great. There's definitely something to having a mountain of gear reduction. 94.5 to 1 is the final on that. It's nice and quiet in forward. That sounds weird. It has so much fidelity. I think now, in retrospect, I could have gone with the 3800 kV, because it's not exactly blistering fast, but I still can. I can tinker with the gearing a little, but I'm really enamored with the low speed control, which is ridiculous. It can get some really low wheel speed. The fine control, as I said, is very fine, and the drag brake on the 2850 might be qualifiers. I feel like it's better, like right there, holding in like a 3-wheel tripod stance, but the other one probably doesn't have quite this much gear reduction. I know I'll have to look it up. Somebody can save me from having to do that. I don't know what the final gear reduction is on a Phoenix. This is sort of a faux Phoenix in a way. It's got dig, and instead of variable overdrive, it's got unlockable diffs. But it's very controllable. Like, I feel like this with a 2800 is every bit as controllable as the Phoenix on a 1900, which is good. This is a climb that is particularly difficult for most rigs, particularly when you're trying to climb it and then you hear like crunching noises. What are you doing over there, little guy? Oh, heard me talking about him. What are you? Oh, yep, there he goes. All right, so we thought we had gotten rid of those guys. I mean, are they cute and all? I mean, I guess, but my God, they eat everything. So now I got to be on the lookout for those guys again. So back trying to clear the crux, and this thing is pretty good at it. I feel like I wasn't getting. I feel like the landmines were gripping more when I had them on the Phoenix, but I think it's more a matter of I've driven this rig for 4 minutes, so I don't really know what attack angles to take. It still cleaned it more easily than pretty much anything else. On to trying the usual side hill stuff. I wanted to really try to attack some bad angles on the side hill to see how this thing fared. It doesn't have as much steering as I want. I know part of that might be interference from the drag link against the pumpkin, so an offset link might help, or offset ends. but I also think my favorite cheap servo just might not have the torque to keep the wheels at the angle that I want them at. So I might be putting an SA75 in here in place of the what's in there now, the 73, the red body AGFRC. But again, I don't think I wheeled it enough today to make a final determination on that. It can hit some lines that others have serious problems with. Not so much with the Tranquish, as I guess I'm going to call it, at least for now. Some wheel slip here on the slick rock, but I don't think that has anything to do with anything other than the tire itself. Some tires are better on those slick surfaces than others. The landmines are kind of a great all-around tire. Here we are hitting Daphne's line, and what I was noticing really quickly wheeling this for the first time is that you can do some like steady state stuff. Start an ascent and just hold the trigger at a fixed point and it will just claw its way up. Not here. This is one of the most difficult transitionals on the whole course because that big rock down at the bottom is just slippery. So I need to get the driver's side front hooked over the rock that the driver's side rear is currently getting over in order to pull the front of the rig so that the rear doesn't lose so much grip on that slick rock and just slide off onto the ground. Now, I say this is the most difficult, one of the most difficult, because I've never managed to make it with anything else. Not the Phoenix, not the Ecto, nothing. Nothing has cleared that. So I don't know if it was the combination of low wheel speed. I don't know what it was. So I decided to try another line, which is even more kind of difficult to breach onto. Because as you see, the wheelbase kind of falls into this intermediate space and it doesn't want to get up, but manages to get up, hangs for just a second. Little reposition, and it will climb most anything. Got the CG numbers. They're good. Total vehicle weighing in at 7.1 pounds as it sits right there. It's got a 12.4375 inch wheelbase. That's 12 and 7/16 inches. I don't know how that came out like that, but that's how that came out. Center of gravity height from the axle, 1.44 inches. Not bad. Giving us 3.83 inches from the ground, which on a portal vehicle is quite low. I would have to go back and look at other sheets, but I think that's the lowest, maybe second to the Phoenix. Yeah, I think the Phoenix is a little, I want to say, in the 3.6, 3.7 area of the Phoenix. So I'm impressed with that, and it already, just on the first run, had me going out and looking for lines that I was like, yeah, this will probably be impossible. There's no way I'll be able to breach this, the gap there by the fence post. Like most rigs try to get there, you get it wedged in the front of the back, and then generally end up falling off. But I don't know. It's like it's got magic powers, because I managed to wheel out of that and then thought, well, let's try a dumber line still. We'll try to cross it back from the top side. And it's not fun until you find out what you can't do anymore. But this one is definitely going to get a exhibition run around the big course, because It's really fun. I'm gonna put the stickers on it. I think it looks okay. It's decent. But I hope you enjoyed the build process. I hope you enjoyed the little bit of wheel time I put on it. Definitely more to come in the future. This one is definitely a keeper. Still needs a little bit more refinement. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. Even mostly the body. I mean, I think it could look better, but we'll learn to live with it. So be sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget about Crawler Canyon on Instagram. And thanks for watching.